Today, we're going to talk about three main sources of renewable energy: solar, wind, and biomass. A high-level overview. Solar PV is when photovoltaic cells containing semiconductors create an electric field. Photons from the sun free electrons and create DC electricity. This DC electricity needs to be converted into AC to be usable in homes, so there are sometimes microinverters mounted on each panel, or an inverter built into the storage, such as the Tesla Powerwall. Storage is absolutely critical when it comes to solar, due to the intermittency of the sun's energy. Battery technology is constantly improving to accommodate this in residential. AC electricity not used can be sent back to the grid. Challenges with solar are as follows. Firstly, it costs more in most residential applications than utilities do, although this is getting cheaper as China is producing cheaper panels and the procurement of panels is becoming more routine. Electricity is difficult to transport. Think of how much energy we could harness in the Sahara Desert, but how difficult it is to transmit that to cities where it's needed. Additionally, the large load of electricity obtained during the day needs to be distributed throughout the evening, creating many challenges with storing the excess. Large-scale solar energy is cheaper due to the ability to rotate panels so that they're always receiving sunlight. Utility-scale solar can't feasibly use batteries, however, so clever storage methods are prominent. Wind energy is quickly becoming one of the fastest-growing industries in the world. The kinetic energy of the wind spins a shaft connected to a generator. Wind is the cheapest electricity in terms of the money spent on capital, operations, and maintenance cost per watt of electricity received. The wind industry has created a vast amount of jobs, benefits the economy of rural areas who receive rent from wind power owners in exchange for land. Wind is not without its fair share of challenges. The materials required to make the turbine base emit a lot of CO2 and don't help the argument for clean energy. Additionally, ideal wind farm locations are far from places where the electricity is needed, similar to the solar issue. There's a noise and acidic pollution, and you have to justify using that land over feedstock or biofuel production. Biomass is another prevalent renewable energy source. Most commonly, biomass like wood, waste, and other plant matter is burned to release its stored energy in the form of heat. Leftover food products like vegetable oils and animal fats can create biodiesel. Corn, sugarcane, and other plants can be fermented to produce ethanol. Three of the more common ways of converting biomass to biofuels is combustion, gasification, pyrolysis. Some of the pros of this sustainable fuel is that it's transportable in similar ways to fossil fuels, being a liquid with standard temperature and pressure, and it can be burned with vehicles with only minor engine modifications as opposed to electric vehicles. Some challenges with biofuels are as follows. The land used to create biofuels can also be used for feedstock, and concerns about price of food have some nations revisiting the amount of biofuel they can produce. Also, the energy return on investment for land use is relatively low, and more biofuel needs to be combusted to provide the same amount of energy as gasoline. Ethanol, the most common biofuel, has about 50% of the energy content of gasoline. Additionally, large amounts of water are required to produce biofuels, usually 2 to 84 times the amount of fossil fuels, and due to equipment and other means required to produce, CO2 emissions can be rather high. Putting a price or value on renewable energy is complex. Shown on the left is levelized cost of energy, or LCOE, for the more prominent energy sources in the US. This is all costs of obtaining the energy divided by the amount of energy that can be harvested in that process's lifetime. In terms of the renewables, this LCOE doesn't take into account things like the time of day that these energies are required, or how to deal with excess required that is going above the current demand, and it doesn't show what a user would actually pay for the resource in a specific area. Location is critical. What equipment is required to extract that energy, and how far do you have to transport it to where it is used? Some articles will try to use LCOE to define the price and value of the renewable. It's important to be able to follow the article to where that number came from before jumping to any conclusions about a black and white business case for the resource. Overall, no single renewable is the solution to fixing our unstable amount of CO2 additions to the atmosphere. A mixture of many clean resources, primarily depending on the location, are necessary to drive down emissions. Things like bringing less educated or third world nations up to speed in terms of quality of life and academics are necessary to allow everyone to work towards the same goal of making the world a better place. Thank you for watching.